Hey y'all, how you doing? This is Jocasta Lester. Excuse the bonnet. Haha. um, in this video, I want to talk to you about how there are things, real things that we've all lived through. I don't want to be so repetitive and redundant. Anyway, there are real things that we've all lived through where we can glean intellect from it. We could look at it and analyze it and think about it critically. A lot of times we pass through circumstances in life and we don't understand what we were watching and how this was important to us and how we could use this later in life. Some of us, we applied those things, they were successful applications, and we did a good job. Others of us, we fell behind by far. So, in this video, I want to talk to you about how there are spiritual influencers. There are things in our lives that have acted upon us in such a way that we've been appearing as adult children in some cases, okay? So, in my spirit, I've been going through what is a spiritual phenomenon where Beyonce was made to sound like this huge bully that would destroy your life just because she felt like it and would, terrorize people, would, take things, would just an evil person, okay? And basically in spirit, this person was using the name of God in order to make people fear her as though she was God's own. And if you didn't obey her, you were in trouble with God, okay? So that was the prevailing um, delusion, okay? So it reminded me of something that happened when I was a child. There was this young lady, her name was Denise Hargrove, and she ran around the neighborhood. And they would just do dumb things. They would, tear up stuff, just stuff that people were just like, why are y'all doing that? She had a little band that they formed. It was her at the helm, her as the head of this little band of stupids. So that I called her in this day, I called her just the head DUMBASS. And she was followed faithfully by two retards. So there was one who wasn't so retarded as she was just more docile and meek. Her name was Marcia, and her sister, her name was Satrina. Satrina was slower. So I looked at how these children, they were younger than Denise. I didn't understand why she didn't hang out with children her own age. And they weren't as smart. In some cases, some they were either highly naive, they had a big naivete, or they were just slower. Okay, so I saw these kids, and she would tell them to do stuff, and they would just do it. Like, oh my gosh! And it was like they were under that mentality. Like if they didn't do what Denise said, or if they didn't be friends with Denise, they were in trouble. So I saw them, and I saw how this was becoming the case in the spirit also. So with that said, there are people in the world who still function that way, where they have a large following or a small following, but they tend to be people who are younger than they, who are naive, or who are slower than they. Okay. And they tend to be held by a strong spiritual uh, captivity in which they're in big trouble if they don't submit to this idol. If they don't submit to this idol or stop being friends with this idol, they're going to get hurt. They're going to die. They're going to get beaten up. And all of this is predicated on, in our case, in this day, they would have gotten into some big trouble with this idol, where this idol may have started informing them or instructing them to torture, to maim, to kill, to murder, to harm, to steal, to kill, and to destroy. And the people became fearful because they thought, that was an outcome for them if they didn't submit or bow to this idol. So that is the way that it is. I believe we've all lived through some childhood aggression or some childhood um, example. We've lived through something where we could glean knowledge. We could get smarter from looking at those particular scenarios that we've all experienced. We've had some experiences in life where we didn't take so long. Like some of the spiritual lies and tumults and some of the things that come our way that they fly in our faces as something just ridiculous to believe in. The devil is quite evil and is crafty. And sometimes some of us get lost in the sauce just because we just weren't on our pivot. Okay. So with that said, a lot of people seem to believe that if they didn't submit to, in this spiritual case, Beyonce, and maybe they are into every thug, every gangster has this particular configuration operating around them. They have what is the head domosity, leading they who are younger, slower, and more naive. They have a little class that they bully, but they become more formidable because this twosome, that Marcia and Katrina pairing, they are the ones that do all of the dirty work with and for the head dumosity. So, if you look at every criminal regime, every structure around us that bullies and terrorizes the neighborhood happening to be the projects, you see that it was a small place to be with a couple of little tyrants running about that were unstemmed because everybody, most of the adults were doing other things, so they didn't notice these things. Only the children who were in the space of these particular, this band of, stupids, only the people who were being affected by these people were even aware of it. So the people that were close to it and the people that were either terrorized by it or were there to witness their terror even noticed it. So it's like the hood was just back to business as usual. Whereas if this band of people drew nigh to you and, tore your car up, tore your yard up, if they did it to you, then you would see. But otherwise, they weren't really so big a problem that they were, something that was big to everyone else, except for the people that they caused problems for. Okay. So another thing, one of the young ladies, her name was Katrina. My sister, she went and did her hair for her because her hair, she used to look like, she looked like a child that didn't get her hair combed ever. And my sister just took it on and said, I'm just going to do her hair. So she went and bought the hair and did her hair. And she braided her hair. It took a long time and it was really pretty. Well, needless to say, Denise didn't like it. So that Denise went and took the girl's hair out of her head. She went and took the girl's braids out of her hair. And Satrina was running around for a while with a few undone braids, with her hair sticking up again. And she finally took them all out and left her with hair sticking up. So, when you see these people, the bully of the gang, the leader, you would give them something good and their leader would destroy it. It's just that way. That is the way that I believe, all right, that the Beyonce entity was operating in the spirit. And I've heard what sounds like my son getting tortured in spirit by all of the Beyonce bites, the people that have this, they adhere to this faith in Beyonce in order to get away with crime. Okay. They decided to say she was God's own so that they could go and, you know, do whatever they wanted to people. They could fire people. They could oust their companies. They were doing horrible things around here. But again, it's just little old Hampton Roads, a few little people that have been under the tyranny of the spiritual domosity. So just understand it. Maybe you all have been confronted with a similar domosity and you weren't observant or you weren't active. For the little itty bitty people that are impacted by it, it is a large impact because this particular band of domosity, they mean to destroy things. Sometimes someone will give you something, and not everybody is a Satrina. It's just some people are surrounded by this band of domosity because there are many, many, many bands that form around some of us. So just know it. So repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Have a blessed and marvelous day. These bands form because there's something you need to work out with God, period. But they also are not to be taken so seriously. Just live your lives and make sure that they, whatever it is that you need to work on with God, that removes these bands from your life. And just keep doing the right thing. So take care and blessings.